Damn it. Damn it. How could it be possible? When did you set up this formation? Samsara Lord, who was suddenly blocked, roared crazily. He never thought that he would fall into this place. He originally thought that he would be able to escape, but he didn't realize that the other party had arranged a large formation in advance. This made him a turtle in an urn, with no way out. At this moment, his face was ferocious, and he turned around to look at Su-han, who had a dull expression in front of him. What frightened him was that Su-han in front of him didn't show any trace of pride on his face. His expression was so calm, as if he had done something very ordinary. Do you want to leave? Su-han said coldly. Seeing Su-han's calm expression, Lord Samsara finally couldn't bear it anymore and said angrily. What do you mean by this expression? Are you looking down on me? How do you see that I look down on you? Su-han waved his hand and said. Your normal look, the way you toy with me while applauding, is really disgusting. You damn guy, I will never let you go. True Lord Samsara gritted his teeth at this time and spoke. You guys are really weird. You are trapped here, and you don't show any pride. You just say that I look down on you. Let me correct you. It's not that I look down on you, but that you don't have the qualifications to let me look at you. A smile appeared on Su-han's face at this time, and he said with a very calm expression at this moment. It was as if he had done something ordinary, and the face of Lord Samsara, who was so humiliated, changed drastically at this moment. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? Lord Samsara gritted his teeth and roared. If you have any means, just use it. I'll wait quietly, Su-han said calmly. There was no trace of fear or anger in his tone, which was as calm as an ancient well. Seeing such calm Su-han, the Samsara Lord finally showed a trace of panic. What do you really want? Samsara Zhenjun was a little frightened at this time, but he returned to his normal expression. You can't show fear at this time. Once it shows, he will lose. Once it shows, he will really become a turtle in the urn. It was like he gave the other side a signal, telling them that he had no other options and no means. But he also knew that even if he had some methods at this stage, it would be of no use because the guy in front of him was too terrifying. Su-han ignored his thoughts at this time, but spoke slowly. I said, I only have one thing to say from beginning to end, and that is to get out of his body quickly, and I will consider making you feel better. Impossible. I have planned this for who knows how long. How can I give you this body so easily? Absolutely impossible. I absolutely cannot agree to your request. Lord Samsara spoke angrily, but he couldn't help but feel guilty. He didn't know how long he had been waiting for Li Shuwen's body, he didn't know how long he had been planning, he had been here for millions of years. Now that he has finally found a suitable body, now that he can finally go out, he will never give up his body. Then if that's the case, there's no need to talk, so I'll have to use my own means to force you out. Su-han had a smile on his face and rushed forward immediately when he saw him. The Luanggu Town fairy book in his hand began to emit bright light, and one formation after another appeared on the ground, directly locking Li Shuwen in front of him. Looking at this large formation, Lord Samsara also had a solemn face at this time. He knew that this time he was encountering a tough situation. Maybe he really had to overturn in Su-han's hands, so he didn't dare to be careless at all. He took action immediately, but the formations one after another moved too fast. The great formation of all things locking the sky. Su-han waved his hand, and a formation rose from the ground. Chains one after another suddenly appeared in the sky. Looking at the chains, Ao Zhan had a look of fear on his face and said, Why did you bring this thing out again? Did you spend so much time locking him up? This is all thanks to your formation. Logically speaking, it has the same goal as your 10 directions locking dragon formation. However, this formation is overqualified for binding him. Su-han's face revealed. With a smile, he spoke. After hearing this sentence, Ao Zhan felt very speechless for a moment, and then said, Don't compare me with this guy. This guy is so despicable and disgusting. I am a noble dragon after all. How can I compare with him? Okay. Let's wait and see how we can separate this guy from Li Shuwen's body. Su-han showed a helpless smile and Taguchi said. Looking at the chains flying towards him, Lord Samsara gritted his teeth at this moment, and his figure immediately disappeared from the place, as if he wanted to escape from the constraints of those chains. But those chains seemed to have a locator installed on his body. Wherever the true Lord Samsara went, those chains chased them, and true Lord Samsara couldn't get rid of them at all. No matter how fast he was, it was of no avail. He could only watch helplessly as the chains bound his body, and his hands and feet were tightly bound by the chains. Knowing that his entire hands and feet had been wrapped in chains until his entire body could no longer move at all, Su-han slowly came to him. Get out. I can make it easier for you to die when the time comes, Su-han said with a smile. At this time, Lord Samsara, whose body had been tightly locked by the chain, had a cruel smile on his face. He just wanted to put his head over, but the chain that locked his neck immediately pulled him back. No matter if he suffocates or not. Finally, he tried not to struggle anymore, and the chains finally became less tight. Ha 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 ha, boy, you are so naive. Do you really think I will come out so easily? So what if you have great skills? Can you force my soul out of his body? I don't believe you have such means. This stinky boy's body belongs to me. This stinky boy's body can only belong to me. I have been planning for millions of years. I have been planning for so long just to get a new body. How could I give up my work? If you push me into a panic, then I don't mind destroying myself with this kid's body. Lord Samsara spoke angrily, saying that since his debut, he had never suffered such grievances, and he had never been trapped in such a humiliating way. He even had a chain around his neck. Now he is like a captured animal without any human rights. Even if he struggles, it will be of no avail. Damn it, I hate it. If I hadn't focused all my attention on the hands of these ants, how could I have let you kids secretly set up a large formation to block my way? Lord Samsara was very angry at the moment and he spoke. Haha. Do you think you can run away from me without these formations? You are really an out-and-out bastard. You are still making excuses for your own failure. No wonder, you can only rely on this method to be reborn. What a disgusting guy. Li Wuxiang looked at his roar and showed a contemptuous smile on his face. Go away, you loser. What qualifications do you have to speak in front of me? In the final analysis, you are just a reborn body, Lord Samsara said angrily. As soon as he finished saying this, his whole body began to riot immediately. I wanted to break free, but the more fierce he struggled, the tighter the chains became. Ha 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 ha, it's ridiculous. You're an old monster who has lived for tens of millions of years. Not only did you get someone else's body, but what's the use of confronting a brat like me? And even if you borrow your own body to regenerate me, I'm still me. I'm so much better than you. A disgusting guy is much better. Li Wuxiang snorted coldly. The boy fell into your hands today, I admit it, but let me tell you, it is absolutely impossible for me to come out of this guy's body. You can keep me locked here, but this boy is big, the probability will be lost here, because his soul is gone, and now I am the only soul in his body, and now I am the only owner of this body. True Lord Samsara sneered. He thought that this would make Su-han in front of him look a little panicked and a little surprised, but he found that Su-han was still normal, without any expression. The way he looked at him was like looking at a prey, which made him very embarrassed at this moment. What are you looking at? What I'm telling you is the truth. Let me tell you, there is no way you can separate me from his body today, unless I voluntarily come out, unless I voluntarily let this kid control my body. The Lord Samsara in front of him spoke angrily at this time, as if he wanted to use this to hide the fear in his body. But all this was in vain. Su-han stepped forward and saw that he had been completely subdued. Lord Samsara spoke. You are such an out-and-out bastard. You have already reached this point and you are still trying to confuse me with words. Do you think I will believe you? Do you really think there is no way I can kill you? After hearing this sentence, the body of Samsara true lord in front of him trembled, and then a little fear appeared in his eyes, but he adjusted his body and mind in the next second, and he could not show such an expression now. If the real kid sees it, then he will be completely manipulated, and then he will completely become a lamb to be slaughtered. Maybe the kid will take something from him. It's impossible, you can't use any means to restrain me. Lord Samsara still spoke angrily, but he hadn't finished speaking yet. Su-han went there in the morning, and then he exuded a terrifying coercion, and his domain began to slowly extend. Seeing that Su-han actually used the realm's reincarnation at this moment, Zhenjun's expression changed drastically, and he spoke. Impossible. This is impossible. How could you use the domain among the backup tools I left behind? How could you have such a plan? Don't you understand yet? I've discovered the despicable methods you left behind a long time ago, but to me these are just some little tricks, Su-han said with a smile. Just when the domain was about to cover the two of them, Su-han spoke to Ao Zhan next to him. Watch closely. When this guy's soul comes out later, catch him. Don't let him run away. You should be able to do this. Of course it's no problem. I can guarantee that this guy's soul will never escape. What qualifications do I have to watch him escape from me here? After hearing this, Ao Zhan said with a confident smile on his face. The scarlet field that followed had completely covered the two of them. Seeing Su Han use his domain, everyone stepped forward and said with doubts on their faces. Elder Su is really clever and clever. When did he set up this formation, and when were he able to see through this guy's backup plan? Don't ask if you shouldn't. I can only say that your Elder Su is very thoughtful and very powerful, but he is also really good to you. Ao Zhan was obviously looking forward to it, but he still spoke slowly. In that field, the face of Samsara true monarch at this moment has a look of fear. He knows that he has entered the other party's field, and he is now a fat sheep. All of your actions will be seen through by the other party, and you can't do anything in the other party's domain. Su Han stood in front of him, and behind Su Han was the endless killing intent. At this moment, he was a little frightened by the endless murderous intent. There was a look of panic on his face, and his body was trembling, but his reason was frantically telling him not to be afraid and never show any signs of fear. A look of fear. Even if he had lived for tens of millions of years, he could not help but have a look of fear on his face. What do you want? You damn brat. Lord Samsara said angrily, as if he wanted to use this to cover up the fear. What do I want? You can guess how I'm going to kill you, Su Han said with a smile. That smile looks harmless to humans and animals, but at this moment, in the eyes of Samsara, it is like the smile of a devil. This devil will take out a knife and cut himself into pieces anytime and anywhere. You can't do this. You want me to come out of his body. Unless I am willing, you can't force me out. You should discuss it carefully with me now. I may agree to your request and get out of this little guy's body. But if you do this now, I will never get out even if I die. I will take him with me. Souls descend into hell together. The Lord Samsara in front of him gritted his teeth and said. It is certainly a pity to give up such a superior body, but now he is a prisoner, he is the turtle in the urn, and it is time to give up. In this way, he could get a bargaining chip to negotiate terms with Su Han. Only in this way could he walk out alive and safe, so he had no choice now. Ha 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 ha. You seem to be confused about the current situation. Are you negotiating terms with me now? Su Han said with a smile. Boy, I admit that I lost to you. I have lived for thousands of years and I have never seen such a weird person. Everything you say and do seems to make me unable to guess. This guy is facing something. I was too calm when I was there, so calm that it made me feel scared. Lord Samsara took a breath of cold air and said. But I don't believe that it's really possible to do this for those brats. Let me tell you, that's the truth. If you don't let me go, then this boy's soul will have to be wiped out here with me. I don't believe that you are sincerely nice to these brats. The fact that you can do this means that this boy has great value and allows you to take action. A sneer appeared on Lord Samsara's face, and he was very confident, as if he thought he had grasped Su Han's weak spot. Ha 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 ha, interesting. Keep talking and I'll see what other flowers you can name. Su Han raised his hands at this time and clapped strangely. The Lord Samsara in front of him felt extremely humiliated when he saw this appearance. This guy seemed to be watching his own performance. This appearance made him think that he was like a pet, and seemed to be winning the joy of his master. Okay, I won't talk nonsense to you. Since you think I can't do it, then I will show you my methods next, Su Han said with a smile. In his field, he is the absolute king. With just a wave of his hand, the Samsara Lord in front of him seemed to feel a powerful force peeling it off from his body. That terrifying force made his whole body feel tearing pain, and he just felt like something was tearing his body apart. The pain in his body became more and more intense as he went back. The pain was so painful that he almost fainted, but he still gritted his teeth and endured. At the moment when he was in pain, his whole body seemed to have undergone a huge change. He found that his soul had separated from his body, and there was a familiar soul standing next to him. That was Li Shuwen, who had been blocked by him for a long time, and his soul was actually drawn out. How is this possible? How is this possible? How could you get this guy's soul out? He has obviously been blocked by me. How could you do it? True Lord Samsara was a little shocked at this moment. He roared crazily and questioned Su Ying in front of him crazily. How is it impossible? Do you think I really can't do it? I just let you feel proud first, but you think you have the bargaining chip to negotiate terms with me? Su Han said with a smile. If you don't wake up now, when will you wait? Li Shuwen wakes up soon. Su Han roared, and Li Shuwen in front of him seemed to be greatly frightened. Half of his eyes that were originally closed opened at this moment. Looking at Su Han in front of him, his face first showed a look of doubt, and then returned to his previous stupid look. Elder Su. Why are you here? How can I see you? Didn't I seem to have met a strange person just now? He seemed to have locked me somewhere, and then I can't remember clearly. Li Shuwen scratched his head at this time, with a puzzled look on his face. Then he reacted, fear finally appeared on his face, and he spoke worriedly. Could it be that that guy also locked you in? What should I do? I actually dragged you into the water. I'm really sorry for you, Elder Su. If it weren't for me, I wouldn't have done these things. Come. Li Shuwen had an annoyed look on her face at this time. He seemed to be very guilty. He didn't expect that he had pulled Su Han down, and that he had caused Su Han to fall to this point. At this moment, his face was very sad. No matter how stupid he is, he seems to know what is happening now. He knows that his body has been taken away by someone else. After a while, that guy may wipe out his soul, which he can accept. After all, it was because he was inferior in skills and let others take away his body, but what he couldn't accept was Su Han, since he also appeared here. Okay. Don't look like this crying person anymore. Really, what does it look like for a grown man to cry every day? Su Han looked at his appearance, with a look of helplessness on his face. Look to your left, that guy is standing there looking at you in disbelief, Su Han said with a smile. After receiving Su Han's suggestion, he immediately turned his head and saw a familiar soul, with an angry look on his face. You damn guy. Li Shuwen immediately rushed forward. He was also a soul body now, so he could naturally cause harm to him. He immediately stepped forward and chased the soul of Samsara True Lord in front of him, pressing him directly under him and beating him severely. Okay, don't fight. If you hit this guy again, he will be beaten to death. I can still use this guy if I keep him, Su Han said with a smile. After I take action later, you should quickly return to your body, and I will restrain this guy, Su Han said. Li Shuwen nodded. He knew that this matter was very important and he must not mess it up. If he messed up, his body would return to the hands of the true Lord Samsara again. The next second Su Han looked back. The reincarnation master Su in front of him felt that his soul could move freely. He immediately wanted to return to that body, but all this was too ideal. He was pinched hard by a big hand, which restricted his movement. Damn, I am not willing to give in. The body that I finally obtained with great difficulty was actually taken out by a kid like you. I am really not willing to give in. True Lord Samsara roared angrily. Li Shuwen also took advantage of this time to return to his body. He slowly opened his eyes, revealing a highly recognizable silly look on his face. He felt the chains around him and said with a distressed look on his face at this moment. Elder Su, why don't you loosen these chains? These chains are too tight. Su Han waved his hand, and the formation instantly dissipated, and Li Shuwen in front of him instantly gained control of his body. Li Shuwen was finally able to move freely. He looked at the black soul in front of him and said with a look of anger on his face. It's this guy. When I absorbed that drop of Kui Niu essence blood, this guy suddenly appeared in my soul. I don't know what method he used to seal my soul. Then my body completely belonged to him, and I watched all my actions from inside my body. I knew that all this was not a coincidence. When you had a strong premonition in your heart, I knew that this was all a conspiracy against you, Su Han said. It's my fault that this happened. I shouldn't have let you go up alone in the first place. If I could have stopped you, maybe these 10 drops of blood wouldn't have taken the initiative to sink into your body, Su Mei said. I don't blame Elder Su, it's all this damn guy, this bastard. If it weren't for him, these bad things wouldn't have happened. This guy really makes me feel very angry, Li Shuwen said fiercely at this time. He now wished he could completely tear the reincarnation king in front of him into pieces, but the opponent had already become a ball of souls, and there was nothing he could do to him. Lord Samsara saw that he had completely lost any possibility of making a comeback. He roared angrily at this moment. You damn bastard, if it weren't for you, then I would have taken his body and wandered freely between heaven and earth. It's all you. I won't let you go even if I'm a ghost. Haha, it's better than you are not qualified to talk to me now. It's time to go out. Now this matter has been completely resolved, Su Han said. As he said that, he had completely dissipated his domain. After the reincarnation emperor saw that the boundless killing intent around him had completely dissipated, a look of sinister wolf appeared on his face. Since you have made me so embarrassed, I will not make it easy for you. I will never let you catch me, and I will never let you humiliate me like this. Lord Samsara roared angrily in his heart. The moment the barrier completely dissipated, the moment Ao Zan saw Su Han, the soul of Lord Samsara in Su Han's hand suddenly caused a riot in Roran. Suddenly, a strong explosion sounded suddenly. Su Han also felt something bad at this time. He immediately threw away the real soul of reincarnation. It seemed that this guy was planning to fight with his life. At this moment, the reincarnation master in front of him seemed to feel it. The thing that suppressed him was completely gone. At this moment, he began to escape quickly, but after experiencing the explosion just now, his soul was very weak. But he still didn't hesitate. He needed to escape immediately. He needed to escape immediately to a place where Su Han couldn't find him, and then hibernated. It's really troublesome to want to leave. I thought you had been subdued by him, but I didn't expect you to do this. Ao Zhan snorted coldly. I saw him take action immediately, and a dragon roar appeared. The dragon roar directly hit the soul of the true Lord Samsara, and the soul of the true Lord Samsara was already looming at this moment. It is not difficult to see that his soul has been severely damaged, and at this moment he still wants to escape crazily. But Su Han would not go as he wished. He only saw Su Han wave his hand, and a chain suddenly appeared out of thin air, directly locking the soul of the true Lord of Samsara, and slowly pulled him back. What a cunning and insidious guy. I thought you couldn't make any waves, but I didn't expect you to come up with all these tricks for me. Su Han slowly controlled the chain to slowly drag the body of Samsara Lord back. Samsara Lord was struggling crazily at this moment. He wanted to get rid of it, but he found that it was all in vain. He had no chance of making a comeback. If he wanted to escape, it would be a fantasy. He could only struggle crazily, but the harder he struggled, the tighter the chain became. Slowly, he returned to Su Han's hands. With a sneer on his face, Su Han looked at the Lord Samsara in front of him and said, "Do you think you can really escape? No. Let me go, let me go. Don't kill me, don't kill me. I have other value. I can provide you with information about a lot of treasures. I know where those guys fell, and I can take you to get them. Their inheritance, as long as you can spare my life." Lord Samsara finally became a little panicked and hurriedly begged for mercy. He wants to survive, and as long as he can survive, he can do anything. As long as he can survive, everything is still possible. Haha, really? Su Han said with a smile. Yes, it is absolutely true. I didn't lie to you. This is all true. As long as you can let me go, then I will fulfill my promise and I will take you there. I will let you obtain their inheritance and become the most powerful practitioner in the world. Lord Samsara saw that Su Han had already spoken to him, and then spoke in a very passionate tone, as if he wanted to use it. Then you are indeed of great use value, but I'm sorry. I have no interest in the things that such a despicable and cunning guy like you put forward, and I don't trust you at all. Su Han said with a smile. Seeing Su Han say such words, Lord Samsara wanted to say something else, but Su Han no longer cared about his words. Su Han waved his big hand, a white light flashed through, and Lord Samsara's soul was directly crushed by him. Before his death, Lord Samsara let out an unwilling roar. This roar resounded throughout the sky, and everyone could hear it very clearly. Okay. Now the troublesome guy has finally been dealt with, and this troublesome guy has finally been killed. Su Han said calmly at this time. Is this guy dead? There should be no other means. Li Wuxiang said very cautiously. He didn't want this guy to come back to life again, because this guy was too despicable and shameless, and his methods were too. He is so cruel that he can directly take other people's bodies. If such a guy is allowed to go out, it will definitely be a major disaster. The true Lord of Samsara will do whatever it takes to achieve his goals, so letting him out would definitely be a recipe for disaster. After Li Wuxiang said this, he came to Li Shuwen and finally felt relieved when he saw Li Shuwen's clear and stupid eyes. It seems that this guy is right. No one can replicate this stupid look except him. At this time, Li Wuxiang finally showed a smile on his face and said, "Get out of here, you guy. How can you talk? I am very smart, right?" Li Shuwen said with an angry look on his face at this time. If you were really smart, you wouldn't end up like this. If you were really smart, you wouldn't let us go through so much trouble to fish you out. Li Wuxiang rolled his eyes at him, with a look of helplessness on his face. After hearing this sentence, Li Shuwen in front of him seemed not to know how to refute, so he could only speak helplessly. I didn't expect that guy to take over my body in just an instant and seal off my soul. But fortunately, Elder Su is here, otherwise I would really have to use this guy's methods. Under this, the soul was completely wiped out by him. Okay, these things have been resolved, but you have to be more careful next time. If something like this happens next time, it may not have such a good result. Su Han said slowly. By the way, Elder Su, the harvest this time is quite rich. Not only has my bloodline power been greatly improved, but I can also control my sanity in battle. Li Shuwen said with a very excited face at this time. This shouldn't be the case. Just experiencing such an incident suddenly enlightened you. I don't believe it. Ao Zhan said from the side. He will never accept this fact. He has tried to educate this guy along the way. He is also Li Shuwen. This guy can be said to be dull and has not made any progress at all. But something like this happened. He was able to control his reason during the battle, which made Ao Zhan's face completely collapse at this moment. This is not a disguised explanation that his teachings have no effect at all. Why not let this kid fiddle with it on his own? For a moment, a sense of frustration surged into his heart, but his face was still very calm, because the dignity of the Dragon Clan did not allow him to be moved in any way. This is true, but Senior Ao Zhan's teachings have also played a great role. Without Senior Ao Zhan's teachings, I'm afraid, I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I have now, and it wouldn't have been possible for me to be able to do this. It's easy to stay sane during the battle. Li Shuwen said with a very serious face at this time. After hearing this sentence, Ao Zhan in front of him was obviously very impressed and said, "You're a very wise boy. It seems that after this experience, not only can you stay rational, but your brain can also be used better." After hearing this sentence, Li Shuwen's face quickly fell, while Li Wuxiang and others next to him couldn't help laughing. That's right. It's very good. What the senior said is very good. I'm afraid this guy's brain has improved a lot after this experience. He even learned how to flatter. Li Wuxiang said. After saying this, Li Shuwen next to her immediately turned red and said, "Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? I am sincere in what I am telling the truth. Okay. Don't joke around here. I'm afraid there's nothing good here except this drop of Kui Niu essence and blood. It's time for us to leave." Su Han looked at them laughing and playing with a look of helplessness on his face, but this moment seemed to be relatively beautiful. Silence next to them, seeing how harmonious they were, couldn't help but yearn for it at this time. He could see that the friendship between these people was very good, and they really regarded each other as good friends. Let's go. There's nothing good here. There are only a few stone pillars here at most, and the soul of the reincarnation lord has been completely wiped out. I'm afraid this place is about to collapse. It's time to leave, Li Shuwen said. Everyone nodded, and then they left this secret realm and returned to the outside world. They saw the strange forest again, and the law of time was constantly unfolding in the forest. This forest is still so magical, but they don't plan to go in, because the stranger it is, the greater the danger it contains. Let's go. Now let's see if there is anything else worth exploring and find some treasures. If we go too late, we won't be able to get them by then, Su Han said. Everyone nodded, and then they left the area. I don't know how long it took, but a dark figure suddenly arrived near this forest. Looking at the rioting laws of time around him, a look of emotion appeared on the face of the figure in front of him. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Look at this time law. It is indeed that guy, but I don't know if he is still alive now. The black figure spoke slowly, and then he waved his hand, and a secret realm appeared instantly. He walked in slowly and came to the place where Su Mei and the true monarch of Samsara had just fought. Looking at the broken scenes around him, a smile appeared on his face at this moment, and that smile contained deep meaning. I only saw him wave his hand, and suddenly a roar appeared. That roar was the true lord of Samsara who had been completely wiped out before. It's just that after the roar appeared, there was no movement. The figure in front of him also had a sneer on his face, and he spoke slowly. Are you still hiding here? Lord Samsara, do you really think that I can't see through your disguise? Come out obediently. If you don't come out, then I will have to consider using other means to force you to appear. After saying this sentence, the world was still very quiet. I only saw the figure in front of me, and a flame suddenly appeared in his left hand. The flame shone with a coquettish light, like an open fire from hell. The moment he appeared, all the life in the forest in this secret realm was drained by him. In just a short moment, the land became completely dead. At this time, a voice finally came out. Stop, stop, I'm coming out now to spare my life. At this time, the soul emerged from the ground. After a closer look, it was the soul of the true monarch of Samsara. This probably makes people feel very strange. It is obvious that his soul has been completely wiped out by Su Han and others, but at this moment he actually appears again. What an interesting guy. If my observation is correct, you should have been completely wiped out just now, but you are really weird. You actually used some unknown means to survive. The man in front of him, with an evil smile on his face. As long as you let me go, I can give you whatever you want. When Lord Samsara heard the words of the person opposite, he felt that survival was in sight. The man in front of him must be a greedy person, otherwise he would not ask himself such a question. From this moment he knew that he must have something he needed. That's why I came here. Oh. So, you really saved a lot of good things. The man in front of him had a sneer on his face and said. That's of course. I am the famous Lord of Reincarnation. I have lived for tens of millions of years and months. None of those guys have lived as long as me. I know where the treasures they left are, and I still have countless secret techniques and countless advanced techniques in my hands. As long as you can let me go, then these are yours. Lord Samsara spoke in a seductive tone. It seemed that he wanted to pull the man in front of him into the abyss, and he saw the excitement on the man's face becoming more and more intense. At this moment, he felt that he could finally survive. Previously, he had deceived Su Han by relying on his own skills and methods, making Su Han think that he was dead. You must know that his ability to save the life of true Lord Samsara must be first-rate. Even Su Han did not realize that true Lord Samsara was still alive in this world. Ha 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 ha, you are indeed an interesting guy. It's worth my time to come here. The man in front of him had a look of excitement on his face and laughed. After hearing this excited smile, Lord Samsara became even more excited at this moment. It seemed that he could finally get out safely this time. As long as he can use tricks to deceive the person in front of him, then he can take the opportunity to seize his body, and then he can come to this world again. Thinking of this, a look of excitement appeared on his face, and he secretly swore that after he captured the body of the person in front of him, he would make Su Han and others pay the price. Yes, that's it, as long as you can believe me, then the whole world will crawl at your feet. The words of the true monarch of Samsara at this moment are full of temptation, and any normal person will be tempted by his words. After all, he is the true Lord of Reincarnation who has lived for millions of years, and he knows a lot of things. You are right, the world needs to fall at my feet. The man in front of him had a proud smile on his face. That's right, come on, let go of your mind, open your sea of consciousness, let me temporarily reside in your sea of consciousness, let me regain some strength in your sea of time, and slowly recover from my injuries. Lord Samsara spoke slowly at this moment. Okay, I'll let you enter my sea of consciousness. A smile appeared on the face of the man in front of him. Samsara true Lord was overjoyed. He was just about to make a move when he saw the man in front of him instantly summon the strange flame from before. In an instant, the flame directly surrounded Samsara true Lord's whole body. Lord Samsara was also confused when he saw this situation, but soon he realized something was wrong and spoke with some panic. What are you going to do? Didn't you say you wanted the whole world to crawl under your feet? You can't do it without my help, and I really want to help you. Old guy, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm easy to deceive? Do you really think I'm here to help you get out of trouble? The man in front of him had a mocking smile on his face. What do you mean? Do you want my life? Lord Samsara spoke angrily at this moment. Yes, I really want your life. Then without me, you won't be able to find the things I promised you before. When the time comes, if you want to make the whole world crawl at your feet, you simply can't do it. True Lord Samsara said angrily. No, I can do it. As long as you are trained to be my puppet, as long as your soul completely belongs to me, then I will know everything you use. The man in front of him had a proud look on his face, and his eyes were greedy as he stared at the reincarnation in front of him, as if he had seen a beast of prey. Lord Samsara looked at the greedy and terrifying eyes of the man in front of him, and at this moment he finally felt a little panicked. He wanted to escape immediately, but he saw him throw out a magic seal. The power of the law of time contained in the magic seal made the world freeze in place instantly, and the man in front of him was frozen in place at this moment, unable to move at all. After doing all this, he immediately fled, but in just a moment, the dark green flame was already entangled in his soul. The flames burned his soul mercilessly, as if it was going to burn his soul dry. Samsara Zhenjun couldn't believe it at the moment. He was obviously a soul body now. Logically speaking, this kind of flames should not have any effect on him. Harm. No, this is impossible, who are you? Why is there such a spiritual fire? Lord Samsara had completely lost his mind at this time, and he seemed to have seen his own death. He had used his strength to deceive Su Han and everyone else. He thought he could finally survive, but he didn't expect that he would fall into the hands of these 10 men he had never seen before. Haha, you have no right to know who I am. Let me go, Spare my life. Lord Samsara was roaring crazily at this moment. But the more he roared, the more excited the man in front of him became. The black-green flame in his hand burned more vigorously, until it completely burned the entire body of the Samsara Lord in front of him. Then, there was no trace of sparkle in Lord Samsara's eyes, and now he seemed like a puppet. Standing here numbly, the initiator of all this, the man in front of him, had a satisfied look on his face and spoke. This old guy is really powerful, but this time I have found a chance. This is all thanks to those boys. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to completely refine this old guy's soul. Okay, it's time to find the method to get out of here. After the man did all this, he left completely with the soul of the true monarch of Samsara. At this moment, the soul of Lord Samsara was like a puppet, slowly walking into his body. Strange, why'd I seem to have a bad premonition? Li Wuxiang had a look of doubt on his face. Li Shuwen next to him was also shocked at this moment and said, I seem to have a strange feeling, but I can't put it into words. It's like I felt the true Lord of Samsara before. It's just that it seems a little different now than before. No, isn't this guy supposed to be dead a long time ago? Am I having an illusion? But this is not a problem anymore. This guy has been dead for a long time, not even a scum is left. Li Shuwen didn't think much at this time, and immediately waved away the feeling that had just arisen in her heart. Elder Su, where should we go next? Li Wuxiang also shook his head at this time, shook off the premonition in his heart, and spoke. Let's go in that direction. There's something I need in that direction. Su Han pointed to the far south. This time he was going inside to find the spiritual fire because he promised Zhu Ronger. As for why you go there? Because he felt a very hot breath from the south, and there was a volcano standing tall in the far south. Going there. But the volcano is really majestic. You can see the scene in the distance just by standing here. At this moment, Li Wuxiang looked at the volcano in the distance with a look of shock on his face. I just don't know what the situation will be like when we walk there. It should be very hot there. If we walk there, it won't be dried out. Li Shuwen touched his head and said with some confusion. Are you stupid? What are you using this strength for? Of course it is for prevention. If you go there, you may be able to walk in with your own strength, and the fire spirit contained in the volcano over there, the power is so strong, which means there must be something good inside. Ao Zhan looked at Li Shuwen, who couldn't turn his head at this moment, with a look of disappointment on his face. I originally thought that this guy might have become smarter after experiencing this incident, but I didn't expect that he still overestimated Li Shuwen. This guy was only able to stay rational during the battle. There is really no way to save his IQ. Let's go, wherever we go. Su Han said. There was a solemn look on the silent face on the side. He carefully examined the volcano, then slowly walked to Su Han and said. Elder Su. Do you know where that is? I don't know, but the aura there is so powerful, there should be something we need, there should be some treasures. Su Han said. What? You seem a little scared like this. Do you know something, or is there something terrible in it? Seeing this, Li Shuwen thought carefully for a while and said with a questioning look on his face. There is indeed something in there, and this volcano is not as simple as we thought. It is completely impossible to enter it and rely on your strength to resist. The hot breath inside can burn everything, and there are many powerful monsters inside. In the deepest part of the volcano is the king of these monsters. It is said that he has been sleeping. Although I don't know what you are looking for, if you break in rashly, you can easily be killed by the guy sleeping in the volcano, Shenmo said. So I hope you'll think about it again. Silence was a little hesitant. Although he had not known Su Han and the others in front of him for a long time, in his opinion, Su Han was considered a good friend. What's more, Su Han saved his life, so he naturally couldn't watch Su Han die in vain. What's that guy's strength? Su Han asked. Su Han also fell into silence. He didn't expect that there was such a mystery in it. Sure enough, silence came from a more powerful world and seemed to have a certain understanding of it. If they really move forward blindly like this, they might actually cause some trouble, and they might actually get killed by it. I don't know, but this guy is also the incarnation of this volcano. It can be said that as long as this volcano does not collapse, this guy will never die. At most, he will sleep for a while and then wake up again, Shenmo said. It seems that your investigation is very clear. Since it is so clear, someone should have gone inside and tried it. What was the result? Su Han asked. Not even the scum is left. Silence took a breath and said. Those are the talented children of the previous generation. Many of them have failed here. and this is also one of the restricted areas of the entire ancient burial god realm, Shenmo said. So Elder Su, you have to think carefully. Do you really want to go here? If you really want to go, you may face huge dangers in. Shen Mo said with a very solemn expression. He wanted to give Su Han a good warning. After all, this place had a notorious reputation. I'm just going here. I want to see how terrifying it is here. If you can't defeat it, then I can still be sure to take you to escape. But this time, let's see if you can get a huge improvement here, Su Han said. After all, he has brought out so many disciples, and he must let them return with a full load, and he must let them get some benefits before leaving. Otherwise, what is the point of coming to the ancient burial god realm this time? In that case, Elder Su has decided, let's go together, but we must not make any mistakes here. After all, there will be a bigger event in a few days, and the fun is yet to come, Silence said. What a good show. Why did you stop talking in the middle of the sentence? It's really exciting. Why don't you tell us now? Li Wuxiang said excitedly. Let's wait until we come out of there safe and sound. It will be an unprecedented feast. Everyone will gather here by then. If you are lucky, you can pick up a lot of good things, Shenmo said. He seemed to still have reservations about this matter, so he was unwilling to speak out immediately. But after I heard such a firm decision from Su Han and others, I was completely relieved of my silence. With Su Han's strength, he might actually be able to escape unscathed. Su Han didn't say anything about the silent words. After all, this was what everyone knew. He could say it whenever he wanted. But now we must go to this volcano to look for it first, and such a powerful power of fire spirit means that the spiritual fire contained in it is definitely not simple. Let's go. Let's go wherever we go. Li Shuwen pointed at the volcano with confidence at this time, as if he wanted to conquer it. I don't know how much time passed, but Li Shuwen was sweating profusely and her body was extremely hot. What's going on? Damn it, we're so far away from that volcano. Why is it so hot now? Who can help me? Li Wuxiang, use your spiritual power to turn 2 pieces of ice quickly. Cool me down. Li Shuwen immediately urged Li Wuxiang next to him, hoping to use his spiritual power to relieve herself. How come you are today? Isn't your physical body indestructible? Why are you showing such embarrassment? Li Wuxiang looked at Li Shuwen, who was lying on the ground so hot that he couldn't move at all, with a mocking look on his face. Yeah, I was full of confidence just now. Why do you look like this now? Liang Yeshui also covered her mouth and smiled. Don't say it. Who knew it was so hot here? This is simply torture for me. I feel like all the water in my body is going to be dried out. I want to drink water right now. There was a look of pain on Li Shuwen's face, and he now felt his mouth was dry. Li Wuxiang waved his hand at this time, and a huge icicle suddenly appeared next to him. The icicle was the same as his height, and the cold breath coming from the icicle was deeply attracted. Li Shuwen. Li Shuwen immediately hugged the icicle, and the icicle immediately sizzled, and the surrounding water vapor immediately dispersed into the sky. But not long after, this icicle immediately turned into a puddle of water under the extremely high temperature. After a few breaths, the puddle of water completely evaporated into the air. However, Li Shuwen's body seemed to have relaxed a little at this time. He immediately became confident and energetic again. Really, you are really a treasure now. How about I follow you and hug you tightly? I don't think you are hot at all. Li Shuwen had a wicked smile on his face, and then he immediately followed Ji Wuxiang. Li Wuxiang looked at him approaching, with a look of disgust on his face, and said, No, don't follow me, you guy. Okay, don't fight around here, there shouldn't be long left in the distance. Su Han said slowly, but looking at the happy scene of his disciples, Su Han was also a little relieved. Why don't we fly over? Li Shuwen didn't think much and raised the question of the soul. Su Han saw that his head was covered with black lines at this moment and said, Do you see those things up there? Try flying. I'm afraid you'll be in trouble once you're in the air. Just give it a try. I want to see if there is anything that can sanction it. Li Shuwen said confidently. He immediately used all his spiritual power to fly into the sky, and at this time there seemed to be some dense things approaching them in the sky. It was a group of birds. That group of birds had fiery red feathers and sharp beaks that seemed to be able to tear everything into pieces. The most deadly thing was that every flapping of his wings was mixed with the breath of fire. They seemed to see someone flying in the sky, and a fierce look appeared in their eyes. They immediately rushed forward and attacked Li Shuwen in front of them. At this time, Li Shuwen felt that his whole body was surrounded by flames, and the beaks were pecking at his body wantonly. It was as if needles were pricking his body. Li Shuwen couldn't bear it at this time, and immediately melted away the spiritual power in his body, and the whole person fell straight from the sky. And those people below all stood there and stared blankly as he hit the ground from the sky, causing a huge deep pit to appear on the ground. At this time, Li Shuwen crawled out of the deep pit very miserably, with a look of pain on her face, and she spoke. Really, if I had known better, I wouldn't be so aggressive. Those broken birds are really powerful. Elder Su. What are those guys? Why are they so powerful? And every time they peck me, it's like a needle sticking into my body. It's very painful. I've warned you a long time ago that there are monsters around this volcano, and the sky is their territory. You are naturally offending their territory by flying in the sky. What's more, there is more than one kind of monster in the sky. If you encounter a more powerful one, I'm afraid you won't be able to run away. Su Han shook his head helplessly and said, I can only say that you like to show off your strength too much. I have warned you a long time ago. If you don't listen, I won't say it again. If we encounter a more powerful monster, it will not be an advantage for us. After all, it is in the sky. We're on the ground. Li Wuxiang nodded in agreement and said warily. Although he had already noticed the birds hovering in the sky, without Li Shuwen's probing, he really didn't expect these birds to be so ferocious. From this point of view, the volcano in front of him was far more dangerous than he imagined. Yes, you know what you will attract, so why not take a walk and look at some monsters on the ground? It is relatively easy for us to deal with them. Now that we have reached the foot of the volcano, we can go up in no time. Don't be so impatient, Shenmo said. They had arrived at the foot of the volcano at this moment, looking at the majestic volcano with a look of shock on their faces. But how to get up there? Li Shuwen scratched his head and said worriedly. Su Han waved his hand at this time, and a formation suddenly appeared in front of them. The moment that formation appeared, the entire space experienced huge fluctuations. I almost forgot, Elder Su, you are a master of formations. If you rely on formations to move in space, it shouldn't be a problem. Li Shuwen showed a dull smile. At this time, everyone entered the formation. In an instant, they disappeared in place, and the fluctuations of the formation also attracted the covetousness of other monsters. But when they got closer, they found that the place was deserted, but they stayed here for a long time, unwilling to leave. Their sense of smell told them that someone must have been here. Fortunately, the formation appeared not long ago and disappeared in an instant. Otherwise, what awaited them would be endless revenge from the powerful monsters around the volcano. At this moment, they only felt a black curtain flashing in front of them. Through the space, they came to the interior of the volcano. The inside of the volcano is hotter than the outside, and the magma can be seen everywhere, and the hot breath rushes straight to the door. And there seemed to be something not good around them, and some eyes were staring at them as soon as they landed. At this moment, Li Shuwen felt the murderous intent around her and had a look of helplessness on her face as she spoke. Elder Su, can you be more reliable next time? How did you teleport to this place? It has given us so many things as soon as it landed, which is really frustrating. You talk a lot. Now think about how to solve these things, Li Wuxiang said. The eager eyes around them slowly revealed their true form. They were a pack of wolves. This group of extremely greedy, ferocious and cunning wolves, their eyes full of desire for prey, and their fiery red fur, indicate that they have been living in this place for a long time, and are deeply affected by this volcano, and their bodies seem to have already some firepower was born. The disciple of the beast control sect said with a very firm look. Luck. Light gold, name, Wang Tianwan. Moreover, the wolf king in this wolf pack may have been born with sanity. He seems to have no intention of showing up at all. He has been giving orders from behind. Okay. I'll give you these things to practice with. I'll watch them carefully here. I'll give you half a stick of incense and you can resolve the battle within half a stick of incense, Su Han said. At this time, Su Han used his heavenly eyes to observe his luck. The disciple of the royal armor sect next to him had a look of hope in his eyes at this moment. He jumped into the pack of wolves and started killing everyone, but the wolves seemed to be organized. They retreated one after another and started fighting guerrilla warfare. They didn't even want to fight Li Shuwen in front of them. They seemed to have known about him for a long time. Physical strength. Recent encounter. The contracted spirit beast Li and Lion King was backlashed and seriously injured. Close black lens bracket. The Wolf King, who was at the very back, standing on a hillside, had a greedy look in his eyes, and the human light in his eyes could not be hidden. It's not easy to subdue him. If you are not careful, you will be swallowed by him, Su Han said. After looking at Wang Tianwan's panel, a meaningful look appeared on Su Han's face. It seemed that this guy was really motivated, but instead, he had the idea of all or nothing, which made him have the final outcome. Strength. Broken 6th level, Elder Su, can you leave the Wolf King of this pack to me? Li Shuwen was completely excited at this moment, like a beast that couldn't be restrained. This feeling made everyone very disgusted. In just a moment, Li Wuxiang and others immediately took action. Li Shuwen was especially fast. In an instant, the wolves closest to him swept across their bodies. The whole body was beaten to pieces. Interesting, I didn't expect that there are races within this volcano, which means there will be more powerful guys inside. Chu Tianrui said. Oh, do you just want to subdue him and make him your spiritual beast? But he is not that easy to give in. These wolves are very wild, and this is the leader of this group of wolves. Hey, Li Shuwen, calm down. Now is not the time for you to show off. Think carefully about what you should do. If you rush in, you will only fall into the trap of the wolves. After hearing this, the people in front of them all showed excited smiles on their faces, and they immediately jumped into the wolf pack. Li Wuxiang immediately came to his side, summoned the ice spear in his hand, and used the ice spear to directly stop Li Shuzai, who wanted to kill. His speed also became faster, but those wolves were famous for their agility and speed. At this moment, Li Shuwen spent most of his efforts to kill a few of those wolves. I'm careless. It seems that these guys are organized and disciplined, but this is really interesting. The wolves relied on their extremely high speed and the power of fire mixed with their bodies to continuously consume Li Shuwen in front of them. Okay, since you want to give it a try, go ahead and see if you can subdue this wolf, but remember to proceed with caution, Su Han said. The strange thing is that after seeing them, the wolves stepped back one after another, as if they were testing and didn't want to attack easily. Li Shuwen looked at the claw marks left on his body and the blood flowing on his body. Although he knew that he was at a disadvantage, the animalistic look in his eyes became even more exciting. After coming to this secret realm, all Su Han wanted from beginning to end was to let the people around him work harder. Only in this way can he maximize the benefits this time. It's a good thing to have your own opportunities, and Wang Tianwan's luck is pretty good. If he can be more careful, he might really be able to succeed. In comparison, he is more like a cunning hunter, and they are the prey among the wolves. Wang Tianwan. What's your name? Su Han asked. Okay, now it's time for you to test yourself. I won't care about you, Su Han said. Naturally, he does not need to take action to deal with these monster beasts, and these monster beasts are basically in the broken realm. Except for the wolf, his realm has already passed the broken realm and reached the Shenhuan realm, but all this is harmless. Just give them a good temper. I want to give it a try. Everyone has found some opportunities of their own along the way, so I believe this wolf should be my opportunity. Under Li Wuxiang's persuasion, Li Shuwen's eyes full of murderous intent finally dissipated a lot, but her red eyes and wild face still did not completely dissipate at this moment. His face was still filled with a bloodthirsty look, as if he wanted to jump in again. If you shoot the man first, shoot the horse. To capture the thief, capture the king first. Capture the guy above who gives the orders, then these wolves will defeat themselves. Li Wuxiang focused his eyes on the Wolf King at the back and said. Work together to drive away all the surrounding wolves, and then go to the place where the wolf leader is and beat him to half a disability, Shen Mo said. At this time, he immediately pulled out the long sword in his hand, and the golden light instantly made the wolves in front of him feel scared. The extremely sharp sword energy made them retreat subconsciously. This was an early warning from their body. Interesting, are you scared? You beasts, but it's useless to be scared. This sword will cut on your bodies next, Shen Mo sneered. Wang Tianwan, Li Shuwen, a few of us are here to help you two clear the way. Whether we can succeed or not depends on you two. Li Shuwen, you have to control your reason well and don't make any other tricks. Li Wuxiang made a simple plan and did not forget to give a warning at the end. Wang Tianwan also clenched his fists at this time. He knew that his chance to become stronger was right in front of him. Whether he could seize it or not depends on this time. At this moment, they immediately rushed into the wolf pack, but the wolves seemed to be inexhaustible. It's strange. Why do the more we fight, the more people we fight? It seems like these guys can't die. Li Wuxiang had a solemn look on his face. So, they have such capabilities. It shouldn't be too weird. Chu Tianrui saw that Li Wuxiang had already taken action, with a look of satisfaction on his face. Then he waved his hand, and a golden pagoda appeared in front of him instantly. Li Wuxiang nodded, and then he thrust the ice spear in his hand into the ground, and an extreme ice field spread instantly. The ice has completely melted, and the water vapor in the sky seems to reflect the anger of the wolves in front of them. At this time, Li Shuwen and Wang Tianwan immediately rushed to the position of the wolf leader, but the wolves under him seemed to realize their intentions and immediately swarmed up. It's interesting. This beast has such high intelligence and is so cunning. If we hadn't realized it, we might have been consumed by him here. He knew that the monster was powerful, but he did not expect that the monsters he gave birth to would also have such abilities. If the volcano could not be wiped out, then these monsters would be able to continuously resurrect with the help of the power of the volcano. Then what else can we do? Of course we have to touch them. Although they cannot be completely eliminated, as long as their leader is taken down, everything will turn around, Li Wuxiang said. In this way, this is the safest and most stable plan. Li Shuwen showed a look of excitement on his face. Only such a guy has the capital to make him excited. He found that they had been fighting for so long, but their efforts were in vain. Those guys seemed to be unkillable. Creatures like this volcano are weird. They seem to be able to regain their lives with the help of this volcano. It means that the volcano is with them. It seems that they were born from the guy in the deepest part of the volcano. Go and kill that wolf quickly. After you kill him, this situation will be solved, Shen Mo shouted. At this moment, a cold sword energy instantly cut through the wolves in front of Chongkong, and their bodies were instantly frozen in place. He finally understood why the leader of the wolf pack stood on top and gave instructions calmly. Emotion knew how to deal with them. He relied on the power of the volcano to keep them reborn, and then consumed them to death alive. Here. Silence said with a solemn expression. Li Wuxiang and Chu Tianrui came to the two of them. Trouble. This situation is not good for us now. It is impossible for me to control them, and I can't hold on for long. Leave it to me. As long as you can restrict their behavior, it shouldn't be difficult for me to temporarily control them, Chu Tianrui said. Now, it's not easy. These guys seem to be a little angry when they see that we have blocked their leader. So what should we do next? When the surrounding wolves saw the ice spreading towards them, they seemed to want to retreat, but they found that the pieces of ice had already frozen on them. He pulled out the ice spear that was stuck straight into the ground, took out a pill and swallowed it, with a look of shamelessness on his face. The leader of the wolf tribe looked at the excited eyes of the two of them, with a look of disdain on his face. He roared softly, and countless wolves around them stopped them instantly. Not only does it require more spiritual energy to condense the power of ice, but even the condensed ice will dissipate into the air within a short time. Hurry up. If you delay any longer, you will face the siege of countless wolves. Wang Tianwan and Li Shuwen took advantage of this opportunity and finally came to the leader of the wolf clan. At this time, the three of them were confronting each other. Fighting in this hot volcano, Li Wuxiang endured tremendous suffering. Chu Tianrui showed a helpless look on his face, spread his hands and said. They originally thought that the only one who could be resurrected with the help of the power of the volcano was the guy sleeping in the depths, but they didn't expect that his relatives could do the same. Li Wuxiang had a solemn look on his face at this time, but in the next second, all the ice cubes on the ground melted, leaving only water vapor in the sky. The rest is up to you too, Chu Tianrui said. The wolves surrounded the leader of the wolf tribe and bared their fangs towards Li Shuwen and Wang Tianwan. Li Wuxiang's spiritual power was severely depleted, and his face turned a little pale. The next second, the golden pagoda instantly covered the three of them, and the buffs of the wolves outside had been completely removed at this moment. The few people sitting on the side also came to the vicinity of the pagoda and looked at the wolves in the sky. At this moment, their hearts were solemn. These guys were all in the broken realm. Although the wolves have temporarily escaped the command of the Wolf King, they still have strong speed and the ability to continuously recover. Coupled with the flames on the wolves, it is enough to give them a headache. At this time, inside the pagoda, Li Shuwen looked at the arrogant leader of the wolf clan in front of him. He twisted his neck, a crackling sound came, and he sneered. You guys are still pretending to me here. I want to see if your strength is as powerful as your expression? Don't be careless. This guy doesn't seem to be easy to deal with. Wang Tianwan also looked solemn. The leader of the wolf clan looked at these two people who seemed to be about to attack him, with a look of disdain on his face, as if he was mocking them. Li Shuwen saw the look on the wolf clan leader's face and immediately couldn't help it. He immediately rushed forward and punched 10 times, directly smashing the hillside where the wolf clan had taken the lead. After the smoke dissipated, the wolf leader appeared in another place. He was not injured at all. His speed was so fast that even Li Shuwen couldn't see clearly. This beast runs really fast. I haven't seen you use any other skills, but this ability to escape is top-notch. Li Shuwen twisted his fists at this time and said with a cruel smile on his face. Brother Li, just take action. I will use our Royal Armor Sect's special spells to deal with monsters to control him. Wang Tianwan said from the side. He also knew that this battle mainly relied on Li Shuwen. After all, this guy was so powerful and had such a powerful body. If he had come alone, the moment he saw the wolf leader, he would have retreated immediately. Li Shuwen nodded, twisted his neck, and looked at the wolf leader in front of him with murderous eyes. The leader of the wolf tribe also became interested at this moment. He immediately stepped forward and raised his paw, as if to challenge Li Shuwen in front of him. Li Shuwen couldn't withstand his provocation. He immediately rushed forward and punched the wolf in front of him. The wolf's hand just jumped over Li Shuwen's Jiao. Li Shuwen was also very shocked by his speed. At this time, the wolf leader seemed to have an evil smile on his face. He immediately turned around and scratched Li Shuwen's chest with a swipe of his claw. Li Shuwen stepped back in pain, but the strong recovery power of his body quickly smoothed away the injuries on his body. After seeing Li Shuwen's body recover immediately, the leader of the wolf clan in front of him also showed a look of surprise. He thought that this big and thick guy only had physical strength, but he didn't expect that his recovery power was also so abnormal. Thinking of this, a look of greed appeared on his face, as if he wanted to completely devour Li Shuwen in front of him. Grandma, what kind of look do you have? Do you want to eat me when you look at prey? Then you were wrong. I am the hunter now. Li Shuwen simply couldn't stand the angry look on his face. The next second he immediately rushed forward and launched a crazy attack on the wolf leader in front of him. But all this was easily avoided by the wolf leader, because he had nothing else and his speed was so fast. Brother Wang, hurry up and take action. This guy is too fast. If I can't restrain him, then I won't be able to hit him. Frequent attacks were avoided, and Li Shuwen was quite helpless and had to ask Wang Tianwan for help. Wang Tianwan nodded, and with a wave of his hand, their beast control sect's specialized beast net instantly headed towards the leader of the wolf clan in front of him. As if he had already locked his prey, Zheng seemed to have identified the leader of the wolf clan in front of him. The leader of the wolf clan seemed to realize that something was wrong, and this net was aimed at him. He immediately wanted to use speed to dodge, but the faster he was, the faster the net in front of him became. Hey, let's not talk about it. Brother Wang, you are really not bad. It seems that your queen Zongzong still has some background. Seeing this, Li Shuwen's face became excited for the first time and she said with a smile. Of course, our Imperial Armor Sect relies on beast control for a living, and we have special methods to deal with such speed monsters. Besides, what can this guy do no matter how fast he is? The faster he is, the faster the network will be. A confident smile appeared on Wang Tianwan's face, and the next second the net had completely trapped the wolf leader. Wang Tianwan shouted at this moment, Brother Li, hurry up and take action. Now is the perfect time to deal with him. Li Shuwen naturally didn't hesitate. When he saw that the net had trapped the wolf leader, he immediately understood and rushed forward. The Kui Niu bloodline in his body seemed to have mobilized to the extremely terrifying physical strength, which allowed his speed to reach the extreme in an instant. The punch went straight away, and wherever the punch hit, deep depressions appeared on the ground. There is no doubt that this punch hit the leader of the wolf tribe. The leader of the wolf tribe was knocked upside down by the punch. His whole body lay on the ground, and the big one vomited blood. I finally got a hit. You guys are really good at running. It took me a long time to catch you. I'm really happy to hit you with this punch. After Li Shuwen saw that his fist hit the target, an excited smile appeared on his face. At this moment, the fighting spirit in his heart had reached its peak. But the next second, the wolf leader in front of him stood up, spit out the blood in his mouth. His eyes were filled with anger, and he looked up to the sky and roared. That wolf roar sent echoes throughout the tower. After hearing the roar of the wolf leader, Li Shuwen in front of him felt very impatient and roared. What are you calling? It's to compete with who has the loudest voice, right? You beast. The leader of the wolf tribe in front of him, some flames instantly appeared on his body. As soon as he raised his claws, a raging fire suddenly appeared under his feet. This raging fire directly turned the net that had just controlled him into ashes. At this moment, he was extremely angry. It's over, we're in trouble now. This guy seems a little angry. I don't know if there is a chance to control him a second time. I will do my best to control him again. Brother Li will definitely give his all. Wang Tianhuan said with a solemn face at this time. He knew that the monster in front of him was now in a state of rage. Looking at this, he might be fighting for his life, and it seems that he has even used his unique magical powers. The flames wrapped around his neck and 4 feet can prove that. That's natural. Now that Elder Su has spoken, this monster will definitely be taken down for you. Li Shuwen nodded and spoke slowly. As he spoke, he immediately came to the front of the wolf leader, and with lightning speed, punched out. This punch once again hit the wolf leader's face, but the wolf leader was not that bad. Madness. There was wind under his feet, and he had already escaped this circle in just a moment. The flames around him also began to fluctuate and expand. The surrounding flames burned the bodies of the 2 people mercilessly. In this closed space, in the pagoda, the power of the flames was further amplified, and the heat from the flames made them extremely irritable. Damn it, this guy is really annoying. I really want to beat him into a cripple immediately. At this time, Li Shuwen suppressed the heat in her heart and spoke. However, the next second, the alert nerves of Wang Tianhuan in front of him instantly felt that something was wrong and he spoke. There seems to be something wrong with the flames on his body. It seems to be able to arouse the emotions in our hearts. Although he has only seen it in ancient books, some monsters can have the ability to stimulate the enemy's emotions. The most common one is the charm of the fox demon. And the ability of the wolf leader in front of him is obviously not to inspire love in others, but more comprehensive emotions. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Shuwen in front of him already had a problem. I saw that his mood was getting more and more irritable. The fists in his hands were clenched tighter, veins appeared on his forehead, and the anger in his body reached an unprecedented peak, and his reason could no longer control him. Li Shuwen immediately rushed forward. He couldn't care so much anymore, and punched the wolf leader's body one after another with his fists. By the time he reacted, the leader of the wolf tribe had already disappeared. And the leader of the wolf clan appeared silently behind Li Shuwen's body, with a humanized mockery on his face. A sharp claw directly scratched Li Shuwen's back. At this time, Li Shuwen felt the burning pain behind him, burning his body. Huopo, this guy is so powerful. Wang Tianhuan suppressed the tension in his heart and said. In this situation, coupled with the unique ability of the wolf in front of him, this guy was able to amplify the emotions in his heart. His original slight nervousness was amplified by the surrounding flames, and now his body was already trembling. Bound by heaven and earth, Wang Tianhuan endured his trembling body and waved his hand, and a golden rope appeared instantly. The moment the golden rope appeared, it seemed to be a locked target. Driven by Wang Tianhuan, he rushed directly towards the wolf leader in front of him, trying to completely tie up the wolf leader's body. Only in this way can victory be possible. After all, this guy is so fast, coupled with his unique strength. Moreover, its attack was accompanied by fire poison, which burned Li Shuwen's body mercilessly. Looking at Li Shuwen's expression, you could see how much pain he was in. Li Shuwen had a look of pain on his face at this time. Although his body could be repaired, the fire poison burned his body, and the pain it caused was continuous and uninterrupted. Ha 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 ha, you damn beast, you have completely pissed me off. Li Shuwen roared angrily. At this moment, he couldn't care so much. He only saw that his body immediately turned red, and the muscles on his body began to surge. He immediately took steps, which was many times faster than before, making him he disappeared from his place in an instant. This punch was mixed with a critical force, as if he wanted to completely capture the wolf in front of him. Unexpectedly, the wolf leader seemed to be faster than him. This punch missed again, and the consecutive misses made Li Shuwen in front of him completely lose his mind. Now he just wants to completely destroy everything. Damn it, you know that damn beast would play with me like this. Li Shuwen's expression became very distorted and she spoke angrily. Seeing that Li Shuwen's expression had completely distorted her rationality and she had completely lost her mind, the leader of the wolf clan in front of him had a smile of victory on his face. He seemed very happy about this. It seemed that he had achieved his goal. At this time, Li Shuwen punched the ground directly. The ground was completely sunken, and the wolf leader had to move his body to the ground due to the cracks. And this powerful place of destruction also caused disaster to Wang Tianhuan next to him. The rope he summoned also began to move quickly at this time, seeming to quickly tie up the wolf leader in front of him, but God's calculations are ultimately not as good as those of humans. The leader of the wolf clan completely avoided the pursuit of the rope with his rapid speed. Wang Tianhuan was tired of coping at this time. and with Li Shuwen in front of him who was completely out of control, he felt very painful at the moment. In addition, the emotions in his body were wirelessly amplified, and his trembling hands had betrayed him, and the wolf leader once again set his target on him. At this moment, he immediately came to Wang Tianwan, with a look of looking at prey on his face, and his 10 claws seemed to want to completely kill the master Waiwan in front of him. But although Wang Tianwan was nervous now, he was not a freeloader. He immediately took action, and a barrier appeared in front of them instantly. This barrier completely blocked the attack of the wolf leader in front of him, like a turtle shell. Next to her, Li Shuwen was still frantically venting her dissatisfaction, frantically venting her emotions, and began to destroy crazy things to find the figure of the leader of the wolf tribe. A sneer appeared on the face of the wolf leader. He kept dodging Li Shuwen's attacks. At the same time, he relied on the sharp claws in his hands and his sharp teeth, leaving countless injuries on Li Shuwen's body. Li Shuwen, you bastard, please wake up. What's going on now? Don't you know, you're still venting here. Seeing that the surrounding land was being hammered to pieces by Li Shuwen, Wang Tianwan was also on the road at this moment. If this continues, then I am afraid that I will also suffer, and I am afraid that I will also be injured by this guy's terrifying destructive power. But Li Shuwen has now completely fallen into madness. No one can stop him and he starts to hit crazily. Even this pagoda has not escaped his attack. Chu Tianrui, who was outside, was shocked at this moment. He felt that his magic weapon seemed to have been hit hard, and a look of confusion immediately appeared on his face. What are these guys doing inside? Why are they making so much noise? My magic weapon started to tremble. Chu Tianrui had a puzzled look on his face. At this moment, a wolf seemed to have seen Chu Tianrui's flaw. He quickly came to him and seemed to want to use this claw to directly end the life of Chu Tianrui in front of him. But at that moment, an ice spear instantly penetrated the body of the wolf. Don't be so busy and look ahead carefully, Li Wuxiang said at this time. Let them solve what happened here by themselves. Now we can help them block these guys outside. But these guys are really difficult to deal with. They can't kill them all. If they don't subdue the wolf leader inside early, then the wolves outside may kill us alive. Li Wuxiang said with a solemn expression. Although the situation is not good for them now, they have to stick to it now. After all, they don't know what the situation is inside this pagoda. Don't worry. If you really can't stand it anymore, they know what to do. I have secretly sent a message to Wang Tianwan before. If he can't stand it anymore, then I can also tell him the only exit of my pagoda. Chu Tianrui said. After hearing this sentence, Li Wuxiang in front of him also nodded. This is the best. In this way, these two guys can escape even if they can't hold on. Moreover, the sound in this pagoda is not completely isolated. Just listening to the sounds emanating from it, one can tell that these three guys seem to be fighting fiercely. Okay. Let's deal with these beasts in front of us. This is really a hard job. Looking at the pack of wolves in front of them that kept walking towards them with a fierce light in their eyes, several people quickly fell into a disadvantage. But Su Han still just sat there with relish, watching their battle. At this moment, inside the pagoda, Li Shuwen was completely aroused by the flames at the Wolf King's feet, and fell into madness. He began to continuously punch out the King of Cohesion. Every episode is filled with monstrous power, which seems to destroy the entire earth. If this pagoda hadn't been hard enough, I'm afraid everything around it would have been shattered by his shock. Oh no, this guy has completely lost control. If this continues, it will only end in failure. Wang Tianwan's face gradually turned pale, his spiritual energy consumption was extremely intense, and he looked like he could no longer hold on. No, this is an opportunity that I worked hard to get. And this is a spiritual pet that I worked hard to find. I absolutely can't give up like this. Wang Tianwan suddenly changed his expression, gritted his teeth and said. Then we can only fight to the death. Wang Tianwan gritted his teeth and saw him wave his hand, and a huge magic circle immediately appeared underground. At this time, a huge green student suddenly appeared in front of him. That strong and powerful body, and the huge horns on his head. All of them showed how extraordinary the spiritual pet in front of him was, but what made people a little weird were his scarlet eyes and the gray lines on his body. This is enough to prove that the spiritual pet in front of me does not seem to be an easy character to control. When the spiritual pet was summoned, Wang Tianwan's face in front of him obviously turned a little paler. It was obvious that this move cost him a lot of spiritual power. The moment the spiritual pet was summoned, it looked up to the sky and roared. An extremely powerful and ferocious aura came instantly, and this ominous aura directly caused the wolf master in front of him to stop his movements. Tianyuan Manyu, obey my orders. Wang Tianhuan roared angrily at this time, and a huge talisman was directly attached to the body of the green bull in front of him. The green bull seemed to feel the control of that huge spell on him. At this moment, he was very unwilling and trampled the ground angrily. It seemed that he was venting his dissatisfaction, and the bigger his move, the more difficult it was for Wang Tianhuan in front of him, but he knew that there was no way out now, and this spiritual pet was not actually his. It was the elders of his clan who saved his life. With his current strength, he should be able to activate half a stick of incense. If after half a stick of incense they still fail to capture the Wolf King in front of them, the result can be imagined and they will have no choice but to retreat, or even. There was no way, who made Li Shuwen completely lose control at this moment. He has lost a good attacker, so now he can only make a desperate move. Tianyuan Manyu was trampling the ground angrily at this moment, as if he wanted to violate Wang Tianhuan's order in front of him, but the huge talisman was attached to his body, making his whole body unable to move. Be obedient, I will only use you this time. After using it, I will naturally let you return to your master. Wang Tianhuan roared angrily, and the spiritual power in his body continued to surge towards the talisman attached to Tianyuan Barbarian Bull. At this time, Tianyuan Manyu felt huge pressure coming from his body, and he had to accept his fate. Soon, a pair of scarlet eyes stared closely at the Wolf King who was standing not far away and strategizing. The Wolf King finally looked at the opponent in front of him and finally looked at him seriously. He put away his previous arrogant gaze and looked at the Tianyuan Manyu in front of him with some fear. I finally started to get serious. This is how it should be. Put away your so-called arrogance and have a good fight with me now. At this time, Wang Tianhuan's face showed unprecedented fighting spirit, and even the pale color on his face seemed to be diluted a bit. And the Wolf King naturally focused on the body of the Tianyuan Barbarian Bull in front of him. At this time, Li Shuwen was much more relaxed under the influence of the unknown flames on the Wolf King. He found that the anger in his heart had gradually dissipated, and the body dominated by anger slowly returned to his control. At this time, Li Shuwen looked at her waving fist, and then at the broken earth, with a look of regret on her face. He turned his head and looked at Wang Tianhuan who was struggling to support himself not far away. At this time, he felt even more guilty. Brother Wang, I'm so sorry. I was too careless this time. I didn't expect to let this beast play with me like this, causing me to waste so much energy in vain. He didn't even hurt a hair on his head. Thanks to you for coming out to stabilize the situation. Li Shuwen scratched her head and said. Originally, he was sent by Su Han to subdue the Wolf King in front of him, but he didn't expect that he would be the one who needed to be taken care of now. Su Han was sitting outside at this time, feeling that the movement from inside the pagoda seemed to have slowly dissipated, and then nodded slowly. If the destructive power here is too strong, it means that the battle will be very anxious and may even be one-sided. And now he can feel that the spiritual power inside seems to be confronting. Both sides are very nervous, which means that the battle between the two sides seems to be coming to an end. Brotherly, come quickly and help me. This guy is too powerful and very fast. The spiritual pet I summoned will not last long, only half a stick of incense. If I can't hit him until he's injured within this half stick of incense, I won't have a chance to conquer him. Wang Tianhuan roared angrily and increased the output of some spiritual energy in his hands. After understanding Wang Tianhuan's words, Li Shuwen in front of her quickly sorted out her emotions. At this time, his eyes were calmer than ever before, but what remained unchanged was the surging murderous intent on his face. After all, the Wolf King in front of him treated himself like a fool, and he simply couldn't bear such humiliation. Just hearing the roar of Tianyuan Barbarian Bull, he trampled the ground angrily and rushed towards the Wolf King in front of him. That huge and powerful body, with every step it trampled on the ground, a huge crack appeared, and its huge horns stabbed straight forward, as if it wanted to penetrate the Wolf King in front of it. The Wolf King was not that easy for him to hit, but even though the Tianyuan Barbarian Bull in front of him was huge, its speed was not slow. Even the Wolf King in front of him was almost hit by his horns, and the horns hit the pagoda hard. Suddenly, this pagoda began to violently turbulent. Everyone outside felt the turbulence from the distance of the pagoda, and their faces showed some doubts. They did not expect that the turmoil came so loudly. What happened just now? There seemed to be a powerful force attacking my magic weapon just now. I can feel that my magic weapon seems to be shaken. What is this guy doing inside? Even if he made such a huge noise before, Why is it that even my magic weapon is shaken this time? Chu Tianrui was sensing the situation inside. The most profound person said with a puzzled face at this time. I don't know, the battle has probably reached a fever pitch. I just hope they can hurry up. If they don't hurry up, these beasts in front of us will consume us alive even if they are exhausted. Li Wuxiang said with a solemn expression. They are now inside the volcano, and Li Wuxiang's control cannot impose any restrictions on the wolves. The tricks he used were able to freeze the wolves in front of him, but the unique flames on their bodies could burn Ji Wuxiang's ice cubes into water vapor in just a moment. After the Wolf King dodged the blow from Tianyuan Barbarian Bull, a solemn look appeared on his face. The spiritual pet in front of him was more difficult to deal with than he thought. At this moment, he put his cunning eyes on the master Kaihuan who was hanging the Kaiyuan Bull. On the other hand, Wang Tianwan's face was pale and his body was shaky, but he still insisted on controlling the body of Tianyuan Manyu in front of him. At this moment, the wind was blowing under the feet of the Wolf King, and there were endless flames wherever he went. He rushed directly towards Wang Tianwan in front of him, raised his huge claws, as if he wanted to send Chou Tianwan directly to hell with one claw. Wang Tianwan saw that the Wolf King in front of him had taken the bait at this moment, with an imperceptible smile on his face, and he spoke. You guys have finally taken the bait. It's really not easy to deceive you. Have you finally set your sights on me who is alone? At this moment, Wang Tianwan in front of him disappeared directly, and in an instant he came behind Weiyuan Manyu. That day, the abyssal barbarian bull rushed towards the Wolf King in front of him at an extremely fast speed. The Wolf King seemed to realize that he had fallen into a trap. The shot he just made missed the target, leaving a huge hole on the ground. Pothole. After he reacted, the huge horns had already touched his lower back. He was directly pushed out by the powerful impact and fell hard to the ground, letting out an angry roar and a painful scream at the same time. I finally succeeded. It's really not easy to kill you. This time I finally let you fall here. Wang Tianwan had a cheerful look on his face at this moment, but the next second he only felt that his legs were weak, and the spiritual energy in his body seemed to be drained. Damn it, it's really too weak. Now I can't even control this guy. It seems that we need to fight quickly. If we delay it any longer, I'm afraid there won't be any good results. The joy on Wang Tianwan's face disappeared instantly, and he gritted his teeth and said. Brother Li, take action quickly. It's time for you to take action. Take this guy down as soon as possible. Wang Tianwan roared angrily at Li Shuwen in front of him. Li Shuwen naturally reacted at this time. He immediately rushed forward and hit the Wolf Master in front of him with his powerful fists one after another. Punch after punch, it seemed that he was trying his best to vent the dissatisfaction in his heart. The Wolf King in front of him was also seriously injured by the attack from the Abyssal Bull just now. At this moment, he was lying on the ground dying and struggled to stand up, but what greeted him was Li Shuwen, Jiao Jiao Jiao, punch after punch. The Wolf King suddenly showed his fangs and bit hard at Li Shuwen in front of him. The strange flames on her body also wrapped around Li Shuwen's fists. At this time, Li Shuwen felt that her fists seemed to be burning, and she could only retreat helplessly. The Wolf King finally got a chance to breathe. He immediately regrouped and retreated to a safe place, staring at the people in front of him with serious eyes. Sure enough, this beast still has many tricks, but he is seriously injured now. If I give him another blow, then he will have no room to resist, and then I can conquer him with peace of mind. Wang Tianwan's face showed a look of joy, but the next second he had disappeared. After all, the Wolf King in front of him is so difficult to deal with. It is still very difficult to seriously injure him without making any other moves. The wolves are cunning by nature, and are known for their agility and tenacity. What's more, their personalities are very vicious. If you can't be more ruthless than them, then you won't be able to suppress them at all. If you do it again, if you can hit him again, then he will be nothing but fish on the chopping board. Wang Tianwan gritted his teeth and said, Brother Li, I can only make one move next. After one move, the Tianyuan bull in front of me will disappear. Whether it succeeds or not depends on you. Wang Weiwan said coldly. Li Shuwen nodded very solemnly. The unique aura of Kui Niu bloodline wrapped around his body. Some cyan lines also appeared on his shoulders, arms and chest. This was Li Shuwen's strongest form. This also means that Li Shuwen in front of him is ready for the final blow. But the Wolf King in front of him was obviously unwilling to give in like this. At this moment, he looked up to the sky and howled. The wolves outside seemed to have felt the call, and they also looked up to the sky and howled. This spectacular scene shocked everyone present, especially Li Wuxiang, who was standing outside and waiting. What are these guys doing? Why do they start roaring for no reason? Chu Tianrui said with a solemn face at this time. He seemed to have some bad premonitions. No, the Wolf King inside seems to be performing some kind of ritual. He seems to want to use this to enhance his own strength. Interrupt them quickly, otherwise the two people inside will suffer. Li Wuxiang was the first to react at this time, and he could make all the wolves so unified, which meant that the Wolf King inside had made some moves. Moreover, a few of them could see the endless flames on the bodies of the wolves pouring towards the pagoda. Every hole in this pagoda is filled with flames, which are continuously flowing towards the Wolf King inside. But by the time they reacted, it was already too late. After those wolves finished doing this, their eyes were full of ferocity. This time, it's even harder to fight here, but it seems that the Wolf King has been cornered. Li Wuxiang said with a solemn expression at this time. Being forced into a desperate situation means that the Wolf King will fight to the death. This is the final situation of this battle. Su Han, who was next to him, stood up slowly at this time, his eyes implying deep meaning. The two people inside felt the power in the Wolf King's body in front of them, and they had a slightly shocked look on their faces. What's going on? This guy is really despicable. He can still play like this. The flames coming from all directions are all blessing his body. What does this guy want to do? Li Shuwen felt the endless power emerging from the Wolf King's body at this time, and scolded her angrily. Okay. Stop talking so much. This is someone else's territory after all. So what if it gets stronger? It's not like we can't deal with it. If we can cripple it with the last blow, then we will win. If not, it means that this guy has no chance with me, so let's retreat as soon as possible. There was a fierce look in Wang Tianwan's eyes. There was only one thought left in his mind: failure or success. The Wolf King roared angrily and opened his mouth. In an instant, all the flames on his body converged towards his mouth. That extremely hot and evil powerful aura gave both of them a dignified look on their faces. The next move is the last move. It seems that this guy also realizes that it is the last move, so he plans to fight with all his strength. These flames should be provided to him by the wolves outside. This guy didn't expect to have such a move. Wang Tianwan spoke at this time. His expression became heavier, but he soon relaxed. Forget it. If that's the case, then let's give it a try. I want to see if you, the beast, are more powerful, or if I am more powerful. Wang Tianwan roared angrily. He moved his feet, and all the power in his body poured into the spell on the spiritual pet. Tianyuan Maniu seemed to be designated at this moment, and he seemed to be able to use more powerful power in his body. He only heard his roar, and even cracks appeared in the entire space. His feet cracked the ground, and even some cracks appeared in this space. At this time, Wang Tianwan also roared angrily, pouring all his spiritual power into it. The Goyuan Maniu seemed to feel Kai Kaihuan's determination. He rushed forward angrily, and this move even directly distorted the space in front of the Wolf King. His feet were invincible, and anything that stood in front of him seemed to be torn apart by him. Even the air around here is no exception. After Li Shuwen saw this move, there was a look of shock on his face and he said, "This guy is really hiding deep enough. If he had this trick, he wouldn't have used it sooner. This move has even distorted the surrounding space. It seems that it will definitely hit him. Don't worry, leave it to me." The violent power on the horns of the Tianyuan barbarian bull even caused it to be entangled with white lightning. The Wolf King in front of him was naturally unwilling to be outdone, and the huge fireball in his mouth began to rush towards Tianyuan Mansheng in front of him. The Tianyuan barbarian bull and the huge fireball collided with each other. At this moment, the collision of electricity and fire made the entire pagoda tremble uncontrollably, and even the heat wave under the pagoda began to invade the surroundings continuously. Everyone outside could feel the powerful heat wave sweeping through their bodies. The powerful heat wave directly drove everyone around the pagoda away. Everyone looked at the scene inside, with a look of horror on their faces. The power coming from here seems to be not only the power of flames, but also the power of lightning. What is going on? Liang Yeshui said at this time. She was a little unbelievable that this battle could last to this extent, which also meant that the Wolf King inside was not a vegetarian at all. That Wolf King was very difficult to deal with, and Zhou Tianrui said at this time, with the power of lightning, shouldn't this guy Li Shuwen use up all his strength? No, his power is not like this. His lightning is fierce and masculine, but the lightning that just came out seems to be able to affect the surrounding space. If your guess is correct, This should be Wang Tianwan's method. After all, besides Li Shuwen, he should be the only one here. Li Wuxiang said. After hearing this sentence, everyone also had a look of surprise on their faces, and then nodded. As a genius in the royal armor, it is normal to receive some life-saving tricks. Soon, the scene in the tower had completely stabilized. There was no sound of fighting, and there was a long-lost calm. And here the two moves just collided with each other, which had already exhausted the two people in front of them. At this time, Wang Tianwan was sitting very weakly on the ground. The Tianyuan bowl in front of him also disappeared. At this moment, he had no means of saving his life. At this time, a cruel smile appeared on Li Shuwen's face. He immediately rushed forward and hugged the Wolf King's head. Punch after punch hit his head. He found that the Wolf King's head was very hard. He turned around and punched the Wolf King's waist 10 times one after another. The Wolf King was in great pain at this time and was lying on the ground very weak, but Li Shuwen's fist still did not stop, but became more fierce, as if venting his previous dissatisfaction. You damn beast. I let you play with me. I made you look down on me. I made you arrogant. Now you try to be arrogant for me again. Li Shuwen waved his fist angrily, saying something every time he waved it. Seeing Li Shuwen in front of him so crazy, Wang Tianwan, who was lying weakly on the ground at this moment, also had a look of helplessness on his face. To put it bluntly, he had been tortured by this Wolf King for so long and even fell into a violent state. Now he finally had the opportunity to beat him back. With Li Shuwen's temperament, he would not let it go, but he spoke in a very weak voice. We've almost got it, Brother Li. If this continues, you'll have to beat him to death. If you beat him to death, who should I contract and who should I use as my spiritual pet? After hearing this sentence, Wang Tianwan scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. The Wolf King spoke angrily at this time. As he spoke, he approached Wang Tianwan in front of him and opened his bloody mouth. A ferocious smile appeared on Wang Tianwan's face. After all, it must be very difficult to contract a spiritual pet. If you are not careful, others will suffer backlash from the other party. But he is not afraid at all now, and his eyes are also full of ferocity. Haha. Do you want it to be your decision? I know you, inside this volcano, you can be resurrected after death, but what about outside this volcano? How can you be resurrected after death? If he couldn't subdue this Wolf King after spending so much effort, then at worst he would kill the Wolf King completely. In his consciousness, the arrogant head of the Wolf King standing in front of him was never willing to lower. He looked down and looked at Wang Tianwan in front of him with his arrogant eyes. You see, this guy has been incapacitated by my beating. Don't worry, he will never have any possibility of action anymore, so you can just keep it in your pocket. The crisis was over. Li Shuwen scratched his head and said with a smile. That Wolf King actually spoke human words. Yes, a small human being defeated you, and you are just a defeated general. I will not surrender to a humble human being. Now get out of here. Wang Tianwan in front of him directly took out a talisman, and the talisman was directly placed on the forehead of the Wolf King. The Wolf King seemed to be resonating with his mind at this moment. The Wolf King was struggling hard, as if he wanted to get rid of the shackles of the talisman on his forehead, but all this was in vain. But Zhu Weiwan also showed Lang Zuwang on his forehead. Human, get out. Why, in addition, the Wolf King in front of us is very powerful, so we should naturally deal with it more carefully. Anyway, this Wolf King has been completely angered. He will probably be harassed by them during the trip after entering the volcano. In this case, it is better to get over it once and for all. Wang Tianwan did not retreat at all in the face of the arrogant words of the Wolf King in front of him. At this time, he made this request very bloodthirsty. Didn't I accidentally vent my anger too much? I just can't understand what this guy did before. If he dares to do this again next time, I'll have to give him a good beating. Li Shuwen was also very embarrassed at this time. Seeing that Wang Tianwan in front of her was so weak, she quickly ran over and helped him up. Li Shuwen also nodded solemnly at this time, because he knew that this matter was not a joke. Wang Tianwan's tone was so solemn and his determination was so strong, which meant that he would definitely take possession of this Wolf King. At this moment, his consciousness seemed to be blurred, and the wolf in front of him was full of wildness. It's impossible to get out. After all, I spent so much effort to defeat you. Now you only have one choice: die or succumb to me. Wang Tianwan sneered, and then he waved his hand, and the talisman on the Wolf King's head seemed to be bursting with intense light, as if it was going to completely restrain the Wolf King in front of him. The blow just now had exhausted all his energy, so now he has no tricks to save his life. After spending so much effort, if he doesn't take this guy down, then he will really be sorry for his efforts. Brother Lee, please help me protect the law. If something goes wrong with me and my body reacts too severely, please help me in time. I'm afraid that I will sink too deep and let this guy come back to bite me, leaving me seriously injured. After hearing these words, the Wolf King showed a fierce identity on his face. He slowly moved closer, his eyes full of murderous intent, as if he wanted to swallow Wang Tianwan in front of him. Wang Tianwan said in a very solemn tone at this time. At this time, the Wolf King had been beaten very miserably. He was lying on the ground without any ability to move. Human, do you know what you are doing? You are just a tiny human. The Wolf King roared at this time. At this moment, Wang Tianwan was a little bit dumbfounded, but now the Wolf King indeed had no possibility of action. After doing all this, Wang Tianwan and the Wolf King in front of him were in resonance. Wang Tianwan was sitting on the ground at this time, and his eyes met the Wolf King. He saw that there was only endless ferocity and wildness in the Wolf King's eyes. Human, I will never surrender to you. The Wolf King was still struggling fiercely. This also made Wang Tianwan in front of him become weaker and weaker, and his whole hands were trembling. You are forcing me. You have to surrender today even if you don't want to. Do you think only you beasts can be cruel? I am more terrifying than you when I am cruel. Wang Tianwan roared angrily, and he poured all his strength into this. At this moment, the talisman attached to the Wolf Lord's head burst out with a burst of bright light. The Wolf King's body was completely weak at this time, and he lay on the ground. After doing all this, Wang Tianwan opened his eyes and saw the Wolf King lying on the ground in front of him, closing his eyes and concentrating. At this time, Wang Tianwan stepped forward and put his hand on the Wolf King's head. After the Wolf King felt the movement of Wang Tianwan, his eyes immediately turned around, and the ferocious look in his eyes was self-evident. You're still so fierce, but that's fine. I've temporarily subdued you now. I'll have plenty of time to convince you later. You don't want to subdue me now. From now on I will make you die, Wang Tianwan said. After doing all this, he directly rode on the body of the Wolf King. Although the Wolf King was reluctant at this time, he seemed to have completely become his spiritual pet. Li Shuwen looked at the operation in front of him with a slightly shocked look on his face, and said in disbelief. You subdued this guy just like that, so quickly? It's not that simple. This guy is still very dissatisfied with me, and the compatibility between me and him is also very weak. I can only see if there is a chance to completely subdue him in the future. If I can't completely subdue him, then he staying by my side is nothing more than a decoration. Wang Tianwan shook his head and said helplessly. After all, he regained this spiritual pet just to improve his strength, but if he can't fight after having him, what's the use? So that's it. I really want a spiritual pet that can breathe fire on its own. Even if it can't do anything, it can just be a decoration. After all, I have the strength. As long as my battle pet is handsome, that's enough. Li Shuwen looked at the handsome man-wolf combination in front of her, and her eyes almost made stars pop out. Let's go. It's all over. This beast has been subdued by me for the time being. Wang Tianwan nodded with satisfaction. Even though his face looked weak, it was all worth it after subduing this Wolf King. By the way, I still don't know what this wolf's name is. Li Shuwen stared at the Wolf King closely and asked. No one knew whether they heard what Wang Tianwan said. Wanyan Yuling. Just like his name, every move of this guy is full of mobilizing people's emotions, and his speed is also very fast. Because he had just been tamed, and the Wolf King was not convinced and the compatibility was not high, Wang Tianwan didn't know much, so he gave a brief introduction. The two of them walked out of Chu Tianrui's pagoda. The moment he came out, the wolves outside were completely silent. They saw a man riding on their Wolf King. Wang Tianwan, who was sitting on the Wolf King, was full of ferocity in his eyes at this time. His ferocious eyes were just like the Wolf King under him, very poisonous to frighten the wolves outside. After seeing Wang Tianwan come out safe and sound, everyone's faces showed a look of joy. They stepped forward and said, I really didn't expect that I really made this kid like you succeed. It's okay, I almost failed. This guy is really difficult to tame. He is indeed a wolf pack. The rebelliousness in their hearts cannot be crushed so easily. Wang Tianwan shook his head, and the tired look on his face appeared in front of everyone. Anyone with a discerning eye can see the paleness on his face, which means that he spent a lot of energy in this battle, but after Li Shuwen came out, the look on his face was still very relaxed. Li Wuxiang spoke at this time. How come you don't seem to be doing anything wrong at all? You don't look pale at all. In this case, you are completely paddling, not doing anything, not making any effort? What are you talking about? I have made great achievements, and I have played a great role in it. If it weren't for me, how could this Wolf King have a chance to be subdued by Wang Tianwan? Li Shuwen felt a little guilty at first, but after a few breaths, he spoke with an unconvinced expression. He felt guilty because he had indeed caused a big disaster before, and his loss of control almost made the battle one-sided. If he was exhausted by the Wolf King, it would mean that there was no possibility of victory in this battle. But he did play an important role later. If it weren't for him, it would be difficult to subdue the Wolf King. Looking at the guilty look on your face just now, you might have gotten into some trouble in there, and seeing that Brother Wang's face is so pale, I guess he put in a lot of effort. It seems like you got into a lot of trouble in there, right? Yi Shui covered her mouth and laughed. Okay, it looks like you guys did a good job this time, but Li Shuwen, you still have to make progress. Su Han walked over slowly, looked at the pale Wang Tianwan in front of him, looked at Li Shuwen, and spoke in a very solemn tone. I know what you did inside. This guy only had that little thing to completely stir up your emotions and almost caused a catastrophe, Su Han said. Ao Zhan, you have to train him carefully later. Su Han then turned his head, looked at Ao Zhan next to him and said. Ao Zhan stepped forward at this time. Before he touched the phantom wolf, a look of fear immediately appeared on its face, which seemed to be Kong fearing the blood in the body of the man in front of him. Oh, it seems that I accidentally made this guy feel the pressure of his blood. It seems that I need to restrain myself. The word, proud, was written all over Ao Zhan's face, and he was about to tell the world. After a while, he completely suppressed the aura on his body. If you ask me to teach this kid, isn't it the same as playing the piano to a cow? You also know this kid's brain. It's very difficult to teach him well. Ao Zhan's face fell at this moment, and he looked at Su Han beside him and said. Senior Ao Zhan, what do you mean by this? How do I look like a person who is difficult to teach? You must know that I have made great progress along the way. Li Shuwen looked unconvinced at this time and said. You have the nerve to say what you did. You know it yourself. You almost let the little brother next to you bear everything alone, and you almost let this little brother bear the attack of you two guys alone. Ao Zhan had a look of disdain on his face, looked at Li Shuwen in front of him and said. Isn't this an accident? Who knew that the flames on this Wolf King could actually arouse people's emotions? I also accidentally brought out the anger in my heart. Then I lost my mind. After Li Shuwen heard this sentence, she suddenly felt a little embarrassed and hesitated. Of course he also knows the consequences. If he really loses control, then this battle will be very difficult to carry out. Okay. Even though I say this, you are still very important. Brotherly, I would like to thank you very much this time. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to subdue this phantom wolf in front of me safely. Wang Tianwan clasped his hands in his fists and spoke with a sincere look in his eyes. After hearing Wang Tianwan's thanks, Li Shuwen returned the favor with clasped fists and a happy look on her face. This gang looks quite majestic, Su Han said as he went to look at the phantom wolf in front of him in the morning. The Huan Yan Yuling watched the person in front of him gradually approach him, and immediately lay down on the ground, his body trembling continuously, because he felt an even more terrifying aura from this person. And he felt a terrifying aura, not just a slight pressure from his bloodline, which made him lie on the ground, his body constantly shaking. Okay, take the breath away from you. Look how frightened this little guy is. He was so majestic when he first came out, and his eyes were full of arrogance. Look, he's almost lying on the ground now. After this period of contact, Ao also got to know Su better. But at this moment, looking at the phantom wolf in front of him, he looked so frightened that he couldn't laugh or cry. Okay, the problem here has been solved. What should we do with the wolves behind us? Li Wuxiang looked at the wolves following him, with some doubts on his face. Go and say goodbye to them. From now on, you will follow me. In the future, I will make you completely convinced of me and completely agree with me. Wang Tianwan looked at the Huan Yan Yuling under him and said. The phantom wolf pondered for a while, then slowly walked forward. Don't act rashly. If something unexpected happens and you cause something bad, it will be over. You have to get rid of this reckless habit. There is only a small road from the center of the magma to where Su Han is. Su Han opened his eyes and looked at the flame in front of him. Li Shuwen looked at the flames on the altar not far away and felt the raging and violent power coming from the flames. At this moment, there was an excited look on her face. After arriving in front of Wang Tianwan, with a flash of light, he quickly integrated into Wang Tianwan's body. After arriving at the altar, they slowly climbed up the stairs and came to the center where a bright and violent flame was constantly emitting his power. Su Han looked at the road in front of him and fell into deep thought, while Li Wuxiang spoke with a very cautious expression. Su Han and others slowly walked along this path towards the center of the altar. Saw the basic information of this flame. After hearing Su Han's words, Li Wuxiang in front of him also nodded. After all, Elder Su had already made a decision, and he had no reason not to follow him. After all, they are in a very dangerous place, and no one knows what kind of things they will attract, so it is best not to move around at the moment. It seemed that he felt the powerful power in this person's body, and seemed to recognize Wang Tianwan in front of him. Do we still have a choice now? Let's go over and give it a try. Maybe there will be unexpected gains. Su Han said lightly. Although it is calm on the surface, it can feel that there must be something more terrifying beneath the calm magma. Okay. Let's go deeper. I have a hunch that there seems to be what we want in the depths. There seem to be more powerful creatures in this depth. Name. Dragon Flame of Annihilation. When they came to the deepest part of the volcano, they could see magma everywhere around them. Don't be so reckless, there must be something here. Li Wuxiang immediately stopped Li Shuwen, who was about to riot, and said with a solemn look in his eyes. Then, under the leadership of Su Han, this group of people slowly moved deeper. Is this what we want? We're finally here. I didn't expect that this guy was subdued by a strange combination of circumstances. It seems that this guy still has to use force to scare him 10 times. It's all thanks to you. Zhu Weiwan said with a smile. It was a wolf head tattoo. Feeling the power of the phantom wolf, he had a look of joy on his face. After Wang Tianwan watched the phantom wolf disappear in front of him, a tattoo appeared on his arm. Elder Su. Do you want to go there? I have a hunch that something bad will happen in the past. Maybe it is related to the monster protecting the mountain that Shen Mo said. After watching carefully for a while, everyone finally saw clearly that there seemed to be an altar on the island, and there was a violent and bright flame on the altar. At this time, Su Han, who was next to him, stepped forward and looked at the surrounding magma. Looking at the calmly flowing magma, his eyes were thoughtful. But the strange thing is that a small island appeared in the middle of the magma. Do you want to take it down? Li Shuwen said. Origin. The birth of the Nirvana volcano, and the birth of the Nirvana Dragon King, the original monster bred by the Nirvana volcano. It possesses violent and ferocious power, and if it is dedicated to the world, it will definitely cover the entire world with unspeakable disasters. Close black lens bracket. I don't know what they were communicating, but after a while, the phantom wolf returned to Wang Tianwan. This time, it seemed that his eyes no longer had the fierce look there, but instead looked like obediently wolf-like. What accidents will happen after I take away this flame? Su Han said. Su Han said with a solemn expression. And even if there is danger, so what? There are people on my side to protect him. Even if Su Han can't beat Ao Zhan next to him, he has the strength of the Supreme Lord. Li Wuxiang said with a very stern expression. There seems to be a strange thing on the island. After reading this, Su Han in front of him finally understood that it seemed that the Nirvana Dragon Flame was a monster born from the volcano on the ground. Guarding it fiercely, he also knew that the Nirvana Dragon Flame had terrifying power. It's really strange. How do you leave after you get it? Do you want to kill this monster? Su Han was thinking in his mind at this time. It's not simple. This extreme and violent power is really rare. It seems like this volcano has transported something incredible. And according to my observation, this flame seems to be giving birth to self-awareness. If we are a few moments later, maybe this flame will not be allowed to be obtained by anyone. Ao Zhan observed carefully for a while, with a look of surprise on his face, and spoke. Oh, there is also this thing. This ball of spiritual fire can actually give birth to self-awareness. This is really strange. Li Shuwen and others all had shocked looks on their faces. It was obvious that he was shocked by Ao Zhan's words. This is obviously a spiritual creature from heaven and earth, but it can actually give birth to self-consciousness. After giving birth to self-consciousness, it means that he can practice like a living creature. With such a powerful talent, he must be extremely powerful when he succeeds in cultivation and transforms into a human form. So we arrived in time this time. How about taking it away now? After taking it away, the flame will be in our hands. There was a look of excitement on Li Shuwen's face. But let me remind you, there is a more terrifying thing down here. If you want to take it away, it will definitely revive this guy. Thinking about what the little guy just said, countless people have failed here. They are all coveting this flame. Ao Zhan said at this time. At the same time, he turned his head and looked at the silence behind him. Silence nodded at this time and said, "It's true. I've heard some rumors before that there are extremely precious spiritual objects in this volcano. I think it must be this ball of spiritual fire. With such power and this terrifying aura, the flame seems to contain extremely terrifying destructive power. No wonder it attracts so many people to peek. But I think these people have been completely melted by the magma. After all, the guy guarding this flame is not easy to mess with. What you are saying is so absurd, so what should we do? How will you know if it works if you don't try it?" As he spoke, Li Shuwen in front of him showed a confident and arrogant look on his face. After hearing what he said, Li Wuxiang showed a hint of helplessness on his face, and then said, "You guys should stop causing trouble here and wait until Chong Tu decides." Although Su Han's current strength was beyond their ability to see through, Elder Su had saved them from dire straits many times. At some point, Su Han had become the backbone of everyone present. The strength and ability are fully recognized and can be the backbone of everyone's unconditional trust. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Han, waiting for Elder Su's instructions. Su Han nodded slightly, then breathed a long sigh of relief, and his face became lighter. "Come on. Let's see what the big guy is under the ground. If that guy comes out, I'm sure we can kill it. I dare not say anything else. As long as you dare to return my Dragon Ball to me, I can crush that guy to death. Without Dragon Ball, my strength has been suppressed too much, and I may need to be a little more cautious when facing a guy like this. But as long as the Dragon Ball returns to my body, then this guy will be just an ant that can be easily pinched off." Ao Zhan straightened his chest and spoke with a certain degree of arrogance in his words. After all, Ao Zhan, the guy underground, still has a weak sense of telepathy. It was precisely because he was contaminated with some dragon blood, coupled with the flame's natural domineering nature, that he gave birth to such a terrifying guy. But so what? He is a pure-blooded dragon. He is the most noble dragon. He is not comparable to those with mixed blood. This is the source of his full confidence. So what if the strength of the monster on the opposite side reaches the Heavenly Supreme? As long as there is absolute bloodline suppression, everything is just a cloud. With your words, I feel relieved. Su Han said with a look of confidence on his face, and then he immediately stepped forward. Looking at the raging and violent dragon flame of annihilation in front of him, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He felt the surging and violent power around him, and Su Han immediately stretched out his hand and placed it on it. At this moment, the Nirvana dragon flame in front of him suddenly began to riot, and the surrounding magma began to erupt continuously. This sudden situation made all the people immediately become alert. At this moment, a deep dragon roar suddenly came, and the magma in front of him began to churn crazily. The surrounding aura began to rise continuously, and under the magma, a huge figure began to slowly reveal his figure. The crimson head, the lava on the wig, and the steaming heat emanating from his body. They all exaggerate the surrounding atmosphere to an extremely majestic and terrifying level. The people below looked at this scene with a look of surprise and admiration on their faces. Even the face of Li Shuwen in front of her couldn't help but feel very excited, she said inwardly. This guy is so awesome, and why is he so stunning when he appears? You guys, don't be so excited. Don't make the big guy anxious when the time comes. If he gets angry, then we won't get any good results. Li Wuxiang had a stern face and looked at the behemoth in front of him with great vigilance, but he still did not forget to remind him. That's right. You have to be more mature and steady, otherwise we will all be the ones to suffer if something happens again. Liang Yeshui also had a serious expression, but the difference was that even if she was in a dangerous situation, the voice she brought was like a spring breeze, blowing into the hearts of others. Li Shuwen's face no longer had the laughter before, but nodded seriously. At this time, Ao Zhan next to him had a look of disdain on his face. He snorted disdainfully and spoke. TCH, he's just a low-class guy who was made by combining the spiritual fire of heaven and earth with the energy and blood of the dragon. How can he compare to a noble pure-blooded dragon like me? After hearing what they just said, everyone next to them had a look of helplessness on their faces. They also know that Ao Zhan's character can still be trusted, but this guy is an arrogant person. His noble dragon status is enough for him to brag about for 10,000 years, but so what if he is noble? He is not being blackmailed to stay with them now. At this time, the behemoth had fully revealed its figure, and its terrifying body was almost spread throughout the magma. The hot air coming out of his nostrils made the surrounding temperature continue to rise, and even the entire volcano had the momentum to explode. The creatures outside saw the volcano in the middle beginning to erupt with magma. They instinctively felt the danger and immediately fled in all directions. At this moment, the giant red dragon suddenly spoke human words and said, "Human, you have crossed the line. This is my territory. I really didn't expect you to be able to speak, it really surprised me." Su Han had a surprised look on his face at this time. Haha, there are so many strange human beings. You are just a drop in the ocean. How can you see the greatness of this world? You should be grateful to see a creature like me today. Put down the flame in your hand, it belongs to me. The giant red dragon in front of him roared upwards as he spoke, and the surrounding magma became more and more violent. It even began to erupt with pillars of flames. This scene made everyone in front of them shudder. "What proof do you have that this is yours?" Li Shuwen immediately rushed forward and spoke with a fierce head. After hearing this sentence, the giant red dragon in front of him laughed out of surprise and said sarcastically, "What evidence proves that this is mine? This is my territory, and this fire was born with me. Whose is it if it's not mine? There are outsiders like you every year, and every year you want to take this treasure away from my hands, but they have all been reduced to ashes in this magma. Since you are stubborn, then I will not follow your welcome." As he spoke, he immediately looked up to the sky and roared, and a blazing fireball suddenly hit them. At this time, everyone fled and hid in a relatively safe area. They saw that the bridge leading to the center of the altar had been completely burned to pieces by the scorching flames. The giant red dragon in front of him had a sarcastic look on his face. At this time, Su Han took the Nirvana dragon flame and said with a slightly unhappy face, "You guys really don't have any moral ethics at all. You took action before I was ready. I will be angry if you do this. It's interesting that you, a human being, can still remain calm under my oppression. And I seem to have discovered a more interesting incident. You, this guy, actually have the same origin as this one." The red giant dragon in front of him looked at Ao Zhan next to him. Ao Zhan's innate dragon bloodline made him feel a little pressure, but so what? There was not only some dragon blood in his anger, he was also a spiritual creature born between heaven and earth. Along with this Nirvana dragon flame, he was born and transformed into self-awareness. "Haha, are you worthy of being compared with me? A bug with mixed blood like you is worthy of being compared to me." Ao Zhan in front of him had a look of disdain on his face, and these words made Ao Zhan unable to sit still. "Haha, I saw that you have the same origin as me, so I deliberately held back just now. You are so arrogant now. It seems that you are the same as them. And looking at you, you seem to be this human's lackey. That's all." The Annihilation Dragon King in front of him had a look of disdain on his face. "Haha, bastard, don't scream in front of me." Ao Zhan had an angry look on his face at this time, and the powerful dragon power on his body instantly appeared. The powerful dragon power made the Dragon King of Annihilation feel tremendous pressure. The Annihilation Dragon King felt the terrifying pressure emanating from the pure blood dragon clan, and he was also a little shocked at this moment. But in the next second, all the pressure on him suddenly disappeared, because at this moment, his whole body was already wrapped in flames. "You are really interesting, and you have lived up to your status. You are indeed a spiritual being raised by nature. Being able to give birth to spiritual intelligence shows that you have some talent." Ao Zhan spoke at this time, with a look of disdain still on his face. "If I'm not wrong, you don't have the Dragon Ball on you. Otherwise the aura on your body wouldn't be so fragile." The Dragon Lord of Annihilation also showed a trace of disdain on his face. Although the dragon blood in the body of the guy in front of him was very strong, and the glory and power exuded made him feel tremendous pressure, but so what? A dragon without Dragon Balls is simply no match for him. Moreover, not only does he have some bloodline of the Dragon Clan, he is also a spiritual creature born and raised in this world. "Ha ha ha ha. This is a bit ridiculous. I didn't expect that a little bug like you could actually see it. It really surprised me, but so what? What can you do even if you see it?" Ao Zhan smiled. His eyes were full of contempt and disdain, and he looked down on the Dragon King of Annihilation in front of him. "Haha, is that right? Then I have to show you whether I can make you respect me or not." The Dragon King of Annihilation sneered at this time. "Go down and let me try this little bug first to see how much strength he still has. Although he doesn't have Dragon Balls, it should be enough to deal with this guy." Ao Zhan sneered. His noble identity as a dragon has been offended. This is something he absolutely cannot tolerate. Such a little bug with mixed blood in front of him dares to provoke him. He has long been unable to bear it. At this time, Ao Zhan roared in front of him, and a giant dragon suddenly appeared inside the volcano. The huge body and the terrifying bloodline pressure made all the surrounding creatures feel a burst of pressure. The monsters born in the volcano were all trembling unconsciously, as if they were afraid of the friction between the two kings, for fear that their battle would affect them. Sure enough, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. However, with your current appearance, it may not be that easy to deal with me. I am not a vegetarian.